when we do the jhanas, miss that one. It has a very particular job to do for us. The joy that we experience in the second jhana works against our four hindrances, restlessness and worry. And restlessness is, of course, something that only goes for the non-returner completely. But the more restlessness we have, the less happiness we have. So to experience inner joy and actually be able to stay with that not only has the ability to work against as an antidote, but it has something else. When we come out of the jhana, first or second or any one of them, there are three things that need to be done. The first thing that needs to be done is to recapitulate, how did I get in? So that it becomes a habitual pathway. Now, obviously, if we've done it often enough, there's no need to recapitulate. We know. A person who has done the jhanas often enough sits down and does them. There's no need for the key. There's no need for the breath. Just sit down and do them. But if one is new at it, one needs to recapitulate. What made it possible this time? Why did it work? And one will find that everybody has a personal trigger. There's little things which can make a difference. One may have sat differently. One may have eaten or not eaten. One may have had a rest or not. One may have thought differently. Something that was helpful. It's very important to recapitulate because meditation should never be potluck. It's a pathway of the mind. So that's the first thing we do when we come out of jhana. Second thing is, that too is impermanent. We can watch it dissolve. We can watch the delightful feeling dissolve because either the meditation time is over or the concentration is over. So that impermanence, to see that impermanence, is extremely important because we don't have any reluctance to see the importance of, to see the impermanence of dukkha. But we have great reluctance to see the impermanence of sukha, of that what we like. So here, it's important to see that. And then there's a third step. And that step is not only to see the impermanence, because the mind can become pretty mechanical about that and say, oh yes, impermanent, I know all that. What am I learning? What am I learning from this particular experience? Now, having gone across the threshold into one's interior being for the first time or maybe just a few times, one learns without a shadow of a doubt that there's something within one which one hadn't seen before. Something which gives a home to the mind. Something which makes it possible for the mind to be comfortable without any outer condition. Nothing has to be right outside of us. It's got to be right inside of us. Obviously, we know that. I think anyway we do. But we've got to experience it. We've got to bite into the mango. And when we do, we have certainty. We have certainty that the meditation not only has brought about a change in consciousness, but also has brought about the experience of an interior being within us, which is totally different from our everyday consciousness. Our everyday consciousness is well known to everybody, and it's not satisfactory. It's duality. I like it, I don't like it, I'm going to have it, I'm not going to have it, it's yours, it's mine, it's theirs, it can be done, it can't be done. It's actually less than satisfactory, it's dukkha. But that, what we experience when we go inside, has a totally different ambience about it. We know there is something there within us which we've been looking for. And obviously the mind is joyful. It's a comfort, it's a home, and it has a residual effect, even though it's impermanent. It has a residual effect in our day-to-day living. We know we can get back there. We know that we can have that comfort for the mind again. And we know that not only can we have the comfort, but we can have that ability to expand the mind. That happens after the first jhana. After the second one, the inner joy, which we have to hang on to also for at least 15 minutes or so, we realize that that's what we've been looking for through our senses. And we realize that we don't need the senses for that. Which doesn't mean we're not going to have pleasant sense contacts. We certainly will, because every human being has pleasant and unpleasant sense contacts. We can't live without them. But it means that they no longer have any priority in our lives. Guarding the senses. Guarding the senses is one of the injunctions, particularly for monks and nuns. And if it is repressive, it doesn't work. We see that over and over again. It's no use repressing. What we need to do is substitute. That inner joy has a different quality from the pleasure of the senses. It is, first of all, of course, it's independent of outer triggers. It's only dependent upon concentration, which is very important, because that independence gives us a certain amount of freedom. But it also has a sweet quality, has a sweetness to it. And it also has a quality of opening the heart. It's very often connected to loving-kindness meditation, which can be a very valuable access to jhana. If one is very good at that, if one is able to have good feeling, a really strong feeling of metta, it can be a very good entry. The breath can be, anything that we use can be an entry. Having experienced the joy and having understood through recapitulation after the jhana, how did I get in? What did I do? What have I learned from it? The mind is very much at ease. Now this recapitulation and this finding out what I've learned is best done when we come out completely out of the jhanas. If we continue from the first onward, it's best done at the very end. Otherwise we're interrupting the concentration. Now again, the Buddha's instructions are, the joy is still gross, there must be something more subtle. And so one lets go of that inner joy. Sometimes people find that a bit difficult because now they finally got this joy, now they want to keep it. But if one knows the instructions, one knows that there's more to come. Having been able to let go of the joy, the mind goes into a state of contentment. And it's quite an obvious state. All these states of the mind are not diffuse, not difficult to recognize. They are quite obvious states of mind. That state of contentment comes about because we've had what we wanted. We've had joy. This contentment goes into a feeling of peacefulness. Now the first two, the first and second jhana, the delightful sensation and the joy, are both somewhat exciting. And one does get a feeling as if they're happening sort of on the level of the heart or the level of the head. These are just imaginary things, of course, because they have a certain excitement about them and haven't dropped deeply. When we get to the third one, the contentment, which brings that peacefulness about, one does have a feeling of having dropped into a deeper state. And these are just feelings. The mind gets more solidified getting into this third one. This is a very important insight jhana, because one realizes after one comes out that contentment is only possible if there are no wishes. That particular time for the third jhana is wishless. We've had joy, we want nothing else, there's contentment. Knowing that contentment is only possible without any wishes, what we're doing is we are affirming the first and second noble truth through personal experience. The jhanas are the means, the insight is the goal. And there's no reason for anyone not to gain these insights because they're so obvious. In fact, they're, one could say, almost automatic, because the mind is quiet and peaceful, calm, not bothered, like a pond where there's no ripple. If there's no ripple in the water, we can look to its depths. We can look to the deepest depths of that pond. But as long as it ripples, as long as there are waves, all we're going to see are the waves. Now the waves are, of course, our thoughts and our emotions. And with them, we won't see into depth. So here, having the third absorption, we can also say that once we have passed the threshold into the first one, it's not difficult to go to second and third. From experience of many students, whoever gets first gets second and third. Fourth is a little more difficult. One of the prerequisites for any meditation, particularly of course jhana meditation, is giving oneself wholeheartedly to the task at hand. I must have said that sentence hundreds of times already. If one can't give oneself up, if one can't give in,